Okay, so yung next question, medyo philosophical. It's from James Hernan Magistrado. Hi, I am interested in how you form your socio-political worldviews by citing French philosopher Michel Foucault. What were his ideas that interested or inspired your views? What would be your takeaway when viewing the country's socio-political realities from a Foucauldian angle? Medyo mahirap yung question. So, but I'm just gonna give my off the top of my on top of my mind answers lang. So hindi very deep, well researched. Kasi parang nagkakwentuhan lang tayo dito. Okay, so ano yung mga first, before I answer this question, introduce ko lang kung sino ba si Michel Foucault sa mga nakikinig. So si Michel Foucault, he is a French philosopher. Madami sa mga ideas niya yung very controversial kasi he really changed how we see power in society. His ideas are very comprehensive, and I'll try to discuss some of his ideas in my future videos because they're really difficult ideas. They're difficult, complicated ideas, and hindi enough yung oras na nilaan ko sa video na to para sagutin yung para i-discuss yung ideas niya. And I need to prepare for that kasi I don't want to mislead anyone. I want to be able to clearly discuss yung ideas niya. Kaya I'm setting that aside for a separate video. But in this segment, I'll just answer this question ni James on which ideas of Michel Foucault that interested and inspired my views. Siguro yung pinakamahalagang idea ni Michel Foucault na naka-influence sa akin ay yung perspective niya of power. Kasi di ba tayo traditionally, when we imagine power, when we think of power, we imagine the government, we imagine the police, military, countries, invading other countries, repressive power. And usually, so yun yung traditional view natin ng power. Pero yung idea ni Foucault ng power, it's different, medyo iba. Para sa kanya, yung kapangyarihan, yung political power, hindi lang siya parang centralized sa government, hindi lang yung government yung may power. For Foucault, power is dispersed among all members of society, even you, even ako, may certain amount of power. Nag-iiba lang yan base sa degree. There's just a certain degree or level of power that we wield as members of society. And for him, hindi lang yung government yung institution na may kapangyarihan din yung ibang institutions, like let's say for example businesses, the private sector, corporations. For Foucault, these institutions have certain amount of power in society to influence society. Nandyan din yung educational institutions such as like yung school, universities, colleges. They also wield power according to Foucault. Nandyan din yung iba't ibang ano pa bang institutions meron tayo, like yung Catholic Church. For Foucault, the church also wields significant amount of power, and the kind of power that they wield medyo different siya dun sa repressive power na na-discuss ko earlier. For Foucault, yung power ng mga institutions na to, it's called normalizing power. So ano bang kaibahan ng repressive power and normalizing power? Yung repressive power kasi, it like to simply put, it uses force or uses certain amount, uses force, violence, coercion to mold yung behavior ng citizens. Like for example, yung police, pag nandyan sila, syempre pag may presence ng police, mas natatakot tayo na gumawa ng masama. So ganun yung epekto ng repressive force sa behavior ng tao. Pero for Foucault, yung normalizing power, mas subtle, mas, mas tago yung kung paano niya exert yung influence niya sa behavior ng mga tao. Let's say for example, very particular si Foucault actually sa connection ng power and knowledge. Para kay Foucault, power produces knowledge, and at the same time, knowledge produces power. So, mutually constitutive sila. And saan ba nabubuo yung power? I mean, yung knowledge. Sino ba yung nagka-come up niyan usually? Nandyan yung mga educational institutions, mga research institutions, na sa kanila nanggagaling yung knowledge. And yung mga studies, researches na nagagawa nila, those studies, those researches, especially in societies na secular democratic where science really play a huge role, they have very significant influence on society kasi sila basically yung nagdidictate ng policies. Dahil nga yung policies, base yan sa studies, base yan sa researches. So, yung pagbebasehan ng policies, depende din sa studies and researches na nagagawa dyan sa educational institution. So, yun see, may ganong ecology yung societal influence, yung power, normalizing power. So, dahil base sa study nitong educational institution na to, dapat ganito yung policy na gawin. Let's say for example in terms of education, like ganito dapat yung policy sa education dahil ito yung resulta ng studies ng educational institution na to. Ngayon yung study na yan gagawing basehan to craft our laws for the government to craft policies, and then yun yung i-implement, at yung policies na yun they dictate our behavior, and kaya tinatawag na normalizing power kasi they normalize the behavior. At sa pananaw natin, yung studies na yun, they are the truth, hindi yan pwedeng questionin dahil nga yan base sa science, blah blah blah, objective yan, ganyan, galing yan sa reputable institutions, educational institutions. So ganun ka indirect yung influence ng isang example lang to ng educational institutions, how they wield power. So ganun ka indirect yung influence ng educational institutions na yan. Kaya for me, normalizing power is more insidious, and could potentially be more dangerous kasi nga hindi tayo aware or hindi tayo directly expose dun sa power or how that power wields itself. May certain levels bago umabot sa atin. Kaya ako very particular ako na kina-question lagi. Like kapag may studies na nire-release, kina-question ko yung methodology. Very critical ako pagdating sa how the results came about, paano inanalyze, kasi lagi ko tong sasabihin, educational institution man yan, researcher man yan, professor man yan, teacher or expert man yan, lagi yang may certain lens na ginagamit para i-analyze yung mga bagay-bagay. Walang tao, unless Diyos ka, walang tao na may nahawak yung objective truth. So, kaya para sa akin mahalaga na for researchers to disclose yung biases nila para at least aware yung nagbabasa ng studies nila, kung paano ba nila fine-frame yung ideas nila or ina-analyze yung ideas nila. It is also the reason why I'm critical of numbers na lumalabas sa institutions. Hindi lang ako basta, okay, ito daw yung numbers, and then ito yung conclusion. Hindi ako ganon. I really question then yung process, paano nakarating sa numbers na yon. Mahalaga yung methodology, mahalaga yung ginagamit na theories, kung paano nila fina-frame yung mga studies nila. Kasi sobrang laki ng impact niyan sa policy making. Makikita natin yan, for example, sa pandemic na meron tayo ngayon, na ang daming numbers na lumalabas. Pero hindi ko nakikita ng may mga tao na question dun sa numbers. Paano ba tayo nakarating sa numbers na yan? Logical ba yung steps na tinake para makarating sa numbers na yan? Rational ba? Gumamit ba tayo ng consistent ba yan sa logic, sa reason? Kasi kung hindi natin titignan yung quality ng methodology ng mga studies na yan in terms of logic and reason, at gagamitin yung studies na yan to come up with policies na sasaklaw sa buong society, sobrang devastating na magiging effects. Kaya lagi kong advocacy ko na sa group, sa page ko na urge citizens to question studies, question numbers, and not just simply acquiesce to these numbers, to these researches. So yun, very important sa akin yung view ni Foucault ng power. And there's this very nice video na napanood ko in the past. I will link it in the description, and it discusses yung idea ni Foucault on power.